I should have known. The signs were all there, but I didn't see them. I was too wrapped up in my own happiness, too naive to see the storm building on the horizon. But the moment my half-sister Sarah stole Jason from me, it was the beginning of betrayal so deep. It shattered everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and family. The first time it happened was subtle. Jason had always been kind to Sarah. Too kind, I now realize. He never questioned her sharp remarks, the way she insisted she always knew better. It was the way she would walk into a room, casting a glance at him that lingered a second too long, as if they shared some silent understanding. But I was busy planning our wedding, our future, consumed with the excitement of what was to come. The idea that my sister could undermine all of it never crossed my mind. And then the day came, the day everything flipped. It was a Saturday morning, the weekend before our wedding. Jason had been distant lately, but I chalked it up to nerves. He was just as excited as I was. Or so I thought. But when I picked up my phone to find a text from Sarah saying, "I think we need to talk," I knew something was wrong. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I felt a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with the chilly autumn air. When I arrived at the cafe, the tension was palpable. Sarah sat at a corner table, her face pale, her eyes darting nervously to the door every time it opened. She looked at me with a mixture of guilt and something else, something I couldn't quite place. "Laura, there's something I have to tell you," she started, her voice barely above a whisper. My heart raced. "What's going on, Sarah?" Her hands trembled as she reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope, sealing it with her own personal brand of drama. "It's Jason and me. We've been seeing each other." The world seemed to stop spinning. My breath caught, and the air grew thick with disbelief. "What are you talking about? That's impossible." She nodded, biting her lip. "It's true. We didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. And I didn't let her finish. "You what?" The words came out in a strangled gasp. "You!" I pointed at her, my whole body shaking. "You slept with him?" Sarah's eyes welled with tears. "It wasn't like that. He didn't mean to hurt you." I slammed my hand on the table, causing a few heads to turn. "You've been my sister for how long, Sarah? How long did you wait to tell me this? How many months did you sit there, pretending to be on my side, knowing what you were doing?" She shrank back as though my anger physically hurt her. I wasn't angry just at her. I was angry at myself, at how blind I had been, at how stupidly I had trusted both of them. The betrayal felt like a knife to the chest, twisting every moment I thought I had with Jason into something false. My world, which had been so bright, suddenly felt suffocating. "I'm so sorry, Laura," Sarah whispered, but her apology felt as hollow as the air between us. I stood up, my legs weak beneath me. "Sorry? Sorry." I laughed, the sound jagged and desperate. "You stole my fiancé, my future, and now you think saying sorry is enough." Her gaze dropped, and I felt an overwhelming urge to walk away, to leave that moment behind and never look back. But instead, I stood there, watching her, as the weight of what she had done sunk in deeper with every passing second. I left the cafe without saying another word. As I walked down the street, the world blurred around me. People moved, their faces unfamiliar, their lives so different from my own. I could feel the pressure in my chest, the kind that happens when you're drowning, but can't even scream for help. By the time I reached home, Jason's calls were ringing nonstop, but I didn't pick up. What was there to say? "Hi, I know you've been sleeping with my sister, but we should still get married?" The thought alone made me sick. I couldn't stay in that house, in that life, anymore. The wedding plans, the future I had imagined, it was all gone, swept away by the actions of the two people I trusted most. They thought they had won. They thought they were getting everything they ever wanted. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't done yet. I had lost everything. Yes, but I was about to make sure they lost something too. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think straight. Every part of me was screaming, rage, hurt, betrayal. But beneath all of that, there was something else, something darker. A cold, calculating part of me was already planning my revenge. It was time for them to understand that you don't steal from someone without consequences. Not this time. Jason kept calling, texting, pleading for me to answer, but I didn't pick up. I didn't even open the text. I couldn't bring myself to hear his voice, not after what he'd done. And Sarah, she was no different. I didn't care if she was my sister. In that moment, she was nothing but a stranger to me. I had been the fool, and now they would pay the price for making me one. I left the house, my mind racing. I needed space. I needed to think. My phone buzzed again, this time a voicemail from Jason. I didn't listen to it. I couldn't. Instead, I drove aimlessly for hours, the familiar streets becoming a blur. It was then that it hit me. I couldn't just sit in my misery. I had to act. They thought they had won. They thought they were going to waltz into my life and take everything from me. But there was one thing they hadn't accounted for: my determination and my willingness to go as far as I needed to. As I sat parked on the edge of town, staring out at the darkened city skyline, I made my first move. The next day, I visited the wedding venue, the one I'd painstakingly picked out, the one I dreamed of sharing with Jason. I walked in with a smile, but it was a smile that hid something dangerous beneath the surface. The manager greeted me warmly, as if nothing had changed, but I knew better. "Laura, so good to see you. Everything is set for the big day," he said with that same rehearsed cheer. I nodded, forcing a smile. "Actually, we need to talk about that. I need to cancel the wedding." His eyes widened. "Oh, but we've already ordered everything, the catering, the flowers. It's all." "I know." I interrupted, cut him off. "I'll pay for the cancellation fees. But here's the thing. I don't want them to get away with it. I want to make sure they know that this wedding, everything they thought they could have, is off the table. I want a refund, and I want it now." The manager hesitated, but when he saw the seriousness in my eyes, he quickly nodded and started pulling out the necessary paperwork. I watched, detached, as he made the call. Each step, each movement, was another layer of control that I was taking back from them. Once that was done, I needed to hit them where it hurt the most: the family business. The very thing that had been the cornerstone of my parents' success, the one thing they had always dreamed of passing down, the one thing Sarah thought she could take from me without any repercussions. I spent the next few days in a whirlwind of planning. I gathered information, family business records, financial documents, anything that could give me the upper hand. Sarah had no idea what she had gotten herself into. She thought she could simply walk in, steal everything, and waltz away. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I called a lawyer, someone with a reputation for getting results. We went over the details of my parents' business, the assets that Sarah had no right to, and the legal loopholes that could allow me to reclaim my share. Meanwhile, I kept Jason at arm's length. He tried texting, calling, even sending me flowers and a desperate apology letter. But I ignored him. His words meant nothing to me. He was just another casualty in the game I was playing. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was my mom. Her voice was shaky, full of fear. "Laura, please come home. It's Sarah. She's gone too far this time." My stomach dropped. I had been expecting this. I had been waiting for it. But hearing it out loud made everything feel real. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She's making threats, Laura. She said she's going to take control of the business, that she's going to make everything hers. She's gone to the lawyers, she's taken the papers, and I'll be there in an hour." I interrupted, grabbing my car keys. When I arrived at my parents' house, I found my mother in tears, pacing back and forth. My dad was sitting at the kitchen table, his head in his hands. The weight of everything seemed to have hit him harder than it had hit anyone. But they were wrong if they thought they could still protect Sarah. I had the power now. "I'm taking control of the company," I said, my voice cold. "Sarah is not getting away with this." Dad looked up at me, his face lined with exhaustion and regret. "Laura, you don't know what you're getting into. No." I cut him off, stepping closer. "She made her choice, and now she's going to pay the price. You're not going to lose everything. I'll fix this." As I turned to leave, I heard my mom call out, Please, don't do anything rash. Please, don't hurt her. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. I wasn't going to let Sarah have the last word. The air was thick with anticipation as I walked out of my parents' house. I could hear my mom's worried voice in the background, but I wasn't listening. It didn't matter. The choice had been made. My choice. No one, not even Sarah, was going to stand in my way. I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of satisfaction. Sarah had crossed a line, one I never thought she would, and now it was my turn to return the favor. She had no idea what was coming. The walls of the life she had so easily claimed were about to crumble. I was going to make sure of it. I spent the next few days setting my plan into motion. Jason, still desperate, tried to reach out, but I ignored him. Every call, every message, I let it go straight to voicemail. There was no room for him in my life anymore. Not now, not ever. I couldn't look at him without seeing the betrayal written all over his face. But more than that, I couldn't forgive him. What he and Sarah had done wasn't just about cheating. It was a direct attack on everything I had worked for, everything I had believed in. I returned to the family business with a laser focus. I was in charge now, and I was going to make sure the company was mine. But the truth was, this wasn't just about business. It was about power, control, and something far more dangerous, revenge. I contacted the legal team that had been handling my family's affairs. I wanted to know everything. I needed to see how far Sarah had gone with her threats. I needed to see what she was planning. They were shocked by the speed of her actions. She had already taken steps to liquidate assets, forge signatures, and manipulate the books. It was all carefully calculated, a meticulous attempt to take over what was rightfully mine. But she had underestimated me. I wasn't just her sister. I was her biggest threat. I spent countless hours going over files, each new document a reminder of how far Sarah had fallen from grace. The empire my parents had built was now in her sights, but she had made one critical mistake. She thought I was the passive one, the one who wouldn't fight back. She thought wrong. By the time I had all the information I needed, I was ready. I walked into the office that afternoon, my heels clicking sharply on the cold marble floor. My employees greeted me politely, but I could see the nervousness in their eyes. They knew the storm was coming, but they didn't know how strong it was going to be. I made my way into the boardroom, where my dad, my mom, and a few key people in the company were already waiting. They looked at me, their faces tight with concern. But I didn't care about their worry. I didn't care about anything but the mission I had set for myself. Dad, I began, my voice steady but unwavering. I need you to trust me. He looked up surprised. What do you mean? I've got everything in place, I said, laying out the papers in front of me. Sarah's attempts to take the company. They're all here. Fraudulent signatures, forged documents. It's all been carefully orchestrated. The room went silent. My dad's face paled as he scanned the documents. He looked up at me, his voice barely a whisper. Laura, I had no idea. I know. I interrupted, my voice cold. But now we fix it. For the next few hours, we discussed the legal action we would take. It was going to be messy, ugly even, but there was no turning back. I wasn't just going to stop Sarah from taking over. I was going to take everything from her. She thought she could walk in and claim it all, but what she didn't know was that she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. As I sat there, signing the legal documents, something inside me shifted. The anger, the pain, it was still there, but now it felt different. Now it was power. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was in control. Sarah had no idea what was coming. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, my mind racing with everything I had planned. I couldn't wait to see the look on her face when everything crumbled around her. The only thing left to do now was to deliver the blow. I picked up my phone, dialing the number I had been avoiding for days. Jason's voicemail greeted me as usual, but this time I left a message. I'm done, Jason, I said, my voice hard. And when you're ready to understand what you've done, maybe then we'll talk. But right now, you're a ghost to me. You and Sarah both. I hung up before he could respond, feeling a sense of finality settle over me. There was no going back. This was the end of the road for them. The days following the call were a blur. The business moves were set in motion, and my mind was focused on the legal battles that would follow. I had set everything up. Sarah was walking into a trap that was too well laid for her to escape. And then came the moment I had been waiting for, the confrontation. I called Sarah. She didn't pick up. I wasn't surprised. She knew what was coming, but I wasn't about to let her slink away quietly. The next morning, I drove to her apartment. The silence in the car was suffocating. I knew this would be the day when it all came crashing down. My plan, my revenge. This was the moment it would all come together. I stood in front of her door, feeling the weight of the last few weeks bearing down on me. The door swung open, and there she was, standing in the doorway, her face pale. Her eyes, which had once been full of venom, were now wide with fear. She knew what I had. "Laura, I didn't know how to," she stammered, her usual confidence crumbling. "I know," I said coldly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "You didn't know how to play the game without getting caught. But you're here now, and you're going to listen." She took a step back, eyes darting around the room as if looking for an escape. But there was nowhere to run. I had already won. "I know everything, Sarah," I said, my voice low, controlled. "The lies, the manipulations, the documents you forged to steal the company from me. You really thought I wouldn't find out? That you could waltz in and take what's mine without facing the consequences?" Her lips trembled, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. I didn't want to go like this. I just thought, if I could just have a little more, if I could just take the company, I could prove to Mom and Dad that I was worth something. I never thought you'd fight back. I thought you'd just walk away. "I'm sorry, Laura, I never meant to." "You never meant to?" I laughed bitterly. "Sarah, you took everything from me. Jason, the wedding, the business. I was supposed to be the one to carry on our family legacy, and you thought you could take it all for yourself. You thought I would just lay down and let you destroy me. But you made a mistake, and now you're going to pay for it." She stepped back, almost tripping over the coffee table behind her, but she didn't dare move further away. There was no escape now. I pulled the folder from my bag, the one I had been keeping with all the evidence of her betrayal. "This is it, Sarah," I said, pushing the file towards her. "The documents, the emails, the bank transfers, you're finished." She hesitated before reaching out to take it, her fingers trembling as she flipped through the papers. Her face turned a sickly shade of green as she absorbed the magnitude of what she'd done. "You can't," she stuttered, looking up at me, eyes wide with panic. "You can't do this. Mom and Dad, they won't let you take everything. They'll side with me." "Not this time," I interrupted, cutting her off. "You're on your own. I've already spoken to Dad. He knows everything now." Her face fell, and she sank into the couch as if the weight of the truth had just knocked the wind out of her. "Why, Sarah?" I asked, my voice quiet now, almost mournful. "Why did you have to destroy everything? Wasn't I enough a sister to you?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I was scared. I always felt like I wasn't enough, like I wasn't good enough for Mom and Dad. You were the perfect daughter, the one they always believed in. I just wanted to be something more. I thought if I could take the company, I'd finally get their approval. I stood there, watching her crumble, but the truth hit me like a punch to the gut. My sister had never felt like she mattered, and in her desperate need for validation, she had destroyed everything we had. "I'm sorry, Laura," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I didn't mean for it to go this far, but it was too late for apologies. Too late for any of it. I'm done, Sarah," I said, my voice steady now. "This game is over." I left her there, sitting in the ruin of her own making, and walked out. The weight in my chest didn't lift. I didn't feel victorious. But I did feel something else, a sense of relief. It was done. Sarah had lost, and I had won. But at what cost? The family I had worked so hard to hold together was now torn apart, and the guilt lingered like a shadow over everything I had done. I wasn't sure what the future held. But one thing was clear. I would never be the same. It had been a week since the confrontation, and the world still felt like it was spinning in a new direction, one I wasn't sure I was ready for. Sarah was out of my life for good. Her threats, her manipulations, everything she thought she could take from me was crumbling piece by piece. And yet, as I sat in my office, looking over the plans for the business I had just reclaimed, there was an empty feeling in the pit of my stomach. I had won, yes, but what was the cost? I hadn't heard from Jason since the day I confronted him about Sarah. He'd sent one message. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do anymore. That was it. I couldn't decide what hurt more. The fact that he betrayed me, or the fact that it felt so easy for him to walk away. I had been the one to invest everything into our relationship. I had believed in him. And now nothing, just silence. But as the days passed, the pain began to dull, replaced by something colder, something I could use. Power. It was the only thing that seemed to matter now. The business was mine again, and with it, I had control. And I wasn't going to stop. Not now. Not when everything I had worked for was finally within my grasp. I thought about calling my parents, but I couldn't. The realization had settled deep inside me. This wasn't just about Jason or Sarah or the business. This was about me. It was about how I had always been the one to hold everything together, to patch up the cracks when they appeared. But now I needed to choose a new path. A path where I was a priority. Where my success, my happiness, was no longer up for debate. That's when I saw the email. It came in the middle of the night, just as I was preparing to go to bed. The subject line read, Urgent, Sarah's legal action. I opened it before I could stop myself. The words hit me like a freight train. Sarah is seeking legal action to challenge a return of company assets. She's claiming that you forged documents to regain control of the business. My breath caught in my throat. After everything I had done, everything I had worked for, now she was trying to take it all back? I slammed my fist onto the desk. She won't stop, I thought bitterly. She never will. But then, something clicked in my mind. I had fought for my place, but now I had a fight to keep it. Sarah wasn't just trying to reclaim what was mine. She was trying to break me, to make me doubt myself, to strip me of my power once again. I wasn't going to let her. The next morning, I went to the courthouse. The legal team was waiting for me. The lawyer was prepared, confident. You're going to need to move fast. Sarah has a lot of support behind her. I nodded. I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. I had already decided. If she wanted to drag this out, I would make sure she never saw the light of day in this business again. But as we sat there, going over strategy, the weight of everything hit me. Sarah's betrayal wasn't the only thing I had to deal with. Jason's betrayal still lingered. He wasn't just someone I had lost. He was a symbol of everything I had given up in the name of family, of loyalty. And now, here I was on the other side, broken but stronger. I'm done with all of them, I whispered to myself, barely audible but clear as day. The lawyer paused. Excuse me? I looked up, eyes hardening. I'm done, but I'm not just going to let them take everything I've worked for. I'll fight for it all. For myself, for the company, for everything they try to take from me. Understood, the lawyer said, nodding. Let's get to work. The case dragged on for weeks, the tension building with each passing day. Sarah tried every trick in the book. False accusations, fabricated stories. But each time, I countered with cold, hard facts. Her lies unraveled, thread by thread, until she had nothing left to stand on. I was done being the victim. It was a final day in court, and as I walked into the room, I saw Sarah sitting there, her face flushed with frustration. She had come this far, but she was losing. I could feel the weight of her desperation. The satisfaction that washed over me was a quiet one, but it was a kind that lingered long after the moment had passed. The judge cleared his throat. After careful review of the evidence, it is clear that the documents in question were indeed fraudulent. The business is legally yours, Ms. Laura. The case is dismissed. The room went silent. Sarah's face twisted with rage, her eyes burning with a mix of disbelief and humiliation. She opened her mouth to speak, but I didn't give her the chance. You lost, I said quietly, my voice carrying. You stole everything from me, and in the end, you didn't even deserve it. Her eyes flashed with anger, but she said nothing as she slunk away from the courtroom. I walked out, the weight of victory heavy on my shoulders. The battle was over, but the war within me was just beginning. I had learned one thing through all of this. No one could take what was mine, not my family, not my past, and certainly not my future. As I stood there, staring out at the city from the courthouse steps, I realized that I was free. The business was mine, but more importantly, I had reclaimed myself. The sun was setting on a new chapter in my life, and for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of what would come next.